But at some point, the math is the math.
I think we can do a better job using that information.
It reinforces my belief that I have the best constituents. Hello, Austin. Hello, Clawback viewers. Hello, District 6. Thank you for watching my show again. It has been a really interesting adventure producing this show and being able to bring on some of my favorite people in the community. We've got a really exciting lineup of guests today. Reverend Josh Robinson from Hope Presbyterian Church, which is a really a key community focal point in District 6. Stephanie Bergara, who's the lead singer of Bidi Bidi Banda. And hopefully the mayor will be joining us. Mayor Adler will be joining us at the end of the show. There's a lot of challenge around being in this quarantining isolation time. And for some of us, we have the resources and, dare I say, the privilege to have a job where we can work from home, where our paychecks keep coming. But then there's also many of us in the community who don't have that privilege. So, at the council meeting yesterday, we adopted the RISE fund that the Mayor Pro Tem Delia Garza had put together, which will authorize $15 million into a fund that we will then grant to nonprofits in this community to provide direct assistance to folks who have been impacted by this crisis. And that could take the form of food assistance, rent assistance, or in some cases, even direct payments to help folks survive through this time. It's very different than really just about anything else that we faced as a nation, much less a community. The challenge of federal stimulus or federal participation, normally you're in a recession and everything's still moving, even if it's moving slower. This is very different. This is about hitting the pause button. And we're inventing how to respond to that in real time. As some people say, we're building the airplane while it flies. And so while we continue to stand up programs at the city, and while we wait for the federal process to finalize and for the dollars to start flowing into our community, we need to just have some patience and some consideration, not just for those who are trying to help, but for each other. And part of that means staying at home. The ability to survive this situation relies upon us staying at home whenever and whoever can do it. That is how we're going to get through this, because the longer we can put off infection, the longer we can put off spread, the more likely we'll have the hospital beds available, the personal protective equipment, the PPE available. I have my mask. Thank you to Courtney Santana, who was a guest 2 weeks ago and is a friend of mine in District 6. She has an amazing nonprofit, Survive to Thrive, and is also a jazz singer. She got me a mask. I'm not sure. It might be too small for my big Irish head, but it's pretty good. You might see me at the grocery store at the H-E-B this weekend wearing that mask. But again, the key here is if you can stay home, stay home. Don't push the envelope. Don't think it'll be fine. We're going to get through this together as a community, but only if we help each other out by staying at home. So I want to bring on our first guest. It is a special weekend for many people. It is a religious holiday and special time for multiple faiths. But I want to bring on my friend, Pastor Josh.
Hello.
Hi, Josh.
Good morning. Grace and peace be with you.
Thank you. Thank you for joining the show. I am fine. Tell me, how are you doing? How are you and your family doing during this crisis?
Well, thank you for asking. My wife is a kindergarten teacher. My son is in 4th grade, and I'm a pastor working full time. So our house has been pretty bonkers and chaotic. But one of our favorite movies is the movie Trolls, if you've seen that. And in that series, in that movies, they have every hour on the hour, they have hug time where they gather together, big confetti, song and dance, and they have like hug time. So this week we instituted every hour on the hour hug time. So we get together, we hug, and then there's confetti, and then we grumpily go back to doing schoolwork, church work, and church work.
That's so cute. And I bet everyone really enjoys it. That sounds like something I would enjoy, frankly. Of course, I'm a big hugger, and you know that, Pastor Josh. Whenever I would meet with folks, I'm always like, "Hey, come on, let's bring it in." Or it's going to be a whole new reality once we get through this. But I also wanted to know a little bit more about what Hope Presbyterian is doing. And you and I have worked together, planning different types of initiatives, trying to figure out stuff to address our homeless crisis. But this weekend is obviously a special weekend. It's Easter weekend. And while the governor has said that religious services can continue, in-person religious services can continue, most of us, and I think you agree that it is not a smart idea. It's not a wise thing to do right now. And so I'm really interested in how Hope is approaching this Holy Week.
Good. Thank you for asking. Listen, we should be taking our cues from science and the initiative that our multiple leaders out. One of those initiatives is the idea of flatten the curve, stay home, stay safe. And part of what we want to do is, if you look at what the Governor Abbott put out and you look at the advisory opinion of our Attorney General, part of what they're saying is if you as a church community have the ability to broadcast from home, then broadcast from home. Let us try to encourage people to help us continue to fight against this virus by staying home. And so, it was a curveball, to be sure. Our congregation isn't one that has been online and technologically savvy, but Hope Presbyterian Church is a member of the Reformed tradition. And our motto of our tradition is once Reformed, always Reformed. And I am the son of a United States Marine Corps guy who taught me early on that in order to accomplish the challenges in life, you have to improvise, adapt, and overcome. So we have embraced this season of social distancing, which I don't even like. I like calling it physical distancing, social connection through technology. We have had a steep learning curve at Hope, trying to figure out how do we broadcast and go live with our worship services. How do we stay in this new age of reforming what we've been doing and stay connected with our members of our church? So part of what has been important for us to remember is that hope is always closer than you think. Hope is closer than you think. And so part of what we've had to do is figure out how to do that through Facebook, through YouTube. Our worship services are on YouTube. And it's frustrating. Our members of our church, we love our property. We love our sanctuary. This is a picture of Easter Sunday from last year. Obviously, we're not social distancing in that picture. But part of that love that we have is really built on relationships. And so even while we are physically apart from each other, the importance of sustaining relationships that we have been working on for decades and decades has been a top priority. And so the idea of mission and ministry that in service to the community has also taken on a new shape. We have been trying to get things going with Hill Country Community Ministry, which is one of our biggest outreaches. We are so grateful that our sibling church across the street, Bethany United Methodist Church, is a weekly food distribution site, Mondays at noon. We were working with Hill Country to become a diaper distribution site through the Austin Diaper Bank. They had their first distribution about a week ago, and they had over 500 cars coming through their location, and were so overwhelmed that they wanted to keep that distribution to their center. So, and really, council member, if you think about where Hope is located, if you were to imagine 500 cars coming through Anderson Mill Road, Olson Drive, it would be pretty congested. So I think the idea that Austin Diaper Bank is keeping a tight rein on that and still continuing to serve is remarkable. We've had some folks who have been laid off in our congregation. We have one member who is battling successfully, I might say, with coronavirus. And but overall, I think the idea of learning to keep morale up, keep the relationship strong, learning how to embrace hope that is closer than we realize has been a real joy.
That's wonderful. And if folks want to participate in your online services, how would they do that?
Mostly go to our website, hopeaustin.org, and most of our information is available there. We do have a YouTube channel, and so if you look for that, our Facebook down below also has more information about how to stay connected with us through technological means.
That's great. I'm so glad to hear that you guys continue to work on serving the community, and of course, best wishes to your church member who is battling with the virus right now. And I'm also excited to hear that your relationship with other churches in the area continues. That is one of the things that I'm always really proud of for District 6, for our constituents, is that we don't let those types of barriers prevent us from collaborating and helping our community. And Bethany United Methodist has a pretty big facility right on Anderson Mill Road, just down the street from you all. Right. And, we've done some collaboration with them as well. And Unity Church of the Hills, which is also on Anderson Mill, and Peace Lutheran, which is just around the corner on 620. But I'm really glad that you were able to join us on the show this morning, Pastor Josh. If folks want to help the efforts that you are helping, are you accepting donations? Are you accepting volunteers? Tell me more about that.
Right now, you can go to hopeaustin.org/donate, and that will be able to, you can donate through our website, and that will help us support the ministries that we are engaged with. And at this time, as far as for volunteers, we're trying to encourage the thing that the governor, the city of Austin is discouraging, which is stay home. So stay tuned. As things begin to change, we'll have some more volunteer opportunities. But for now, hopeaustin.org/donate. And council member, before we go, do you mind if I give some shout outs?
Please do.
All right. Well, first off, I want to give shout out to Shipley's Donut at the corner of Anderson Mill and Olson Drive. They are not only a great donut store, but also the main identifier of how to find Hope Presbyterian Church. Go to Shipley's Donut and go behind them, then you'll see Hope. I want to give a shout out to Terra Toys on Anderson Lane for keeping joy alive while we are in isolation. I can call them and know that their toy elves will be there to offer a great amount of cheer. I want to give a shout out to the teachers and staff at Anderson Mill Elementary School, as well as Spicewood Elementary School. They are teachers and staff who are working very hard to keep our kids in the Round Rock School District educated. The deacons and Stephen ministers at our church for demonstrating what it means to be the priesthood of all believers. And finally, a personal shout out to DJ Mel for throwing his living room dance party every Saturday night from 6 to midnight to support local nonprofits. That is something to look forward to, as well as church on Sunday at 10 o'clock, hopeaustin.org.
That's great, Pastor Josh. We have one person commenting. Just want to bring it up while you're on the screen. Thanks, Rita, for watching the show and for supporting Pastor Josh and Hope Presbyterian. Thank you so much, Josh.
Thank you.
Please stick around. We'll bring you back on at the end of the show.
God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, that's great. Hope Presbyterian's been a really excellent partner with our office, and Pastor Josh has been really forward thinking about how do we bring the community together and as partners to solve these really difficult challenges that we have in our community. There's really nothing that the government can solve alone. There's also nothing I think that churches can solve alone. This is about everybody working together and leveraging our unique strengths and weaknesses in order to make our community a better place. One of the biggest challenges, one of the communities that is really struggling during this time is our music industry and our musicians. When Mayor Adler canceled South by, that night, I was meeting with musicians organizations and with city staff about how is it that we're going to support our music community when so much of their efforts surround the South by kind of ecosystem. So it's been really valuable and important for me to bring on musicians onto every episode of the show. And we have a really exciting guest today that I want to bring her on. Stephanie Vergara. Thank you for joining the show, Stephanie.
Of course, I'm happy to be here. Happy to be seen and to have some social interaction. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Happy to chat with you. Thanks for having me.
First, just tell us more about Bidi Bidi Banda.
Sure. So Bidi Bidi Banda is a Selena tribute band. So Selena was is a very famous Tejano artist. who gained a lot of prominence in the 90s. She was unfortunately murdered towards the early in her life, and it's interesting because this year is the 25th anniversary of her passing, but her music is just as relevant as ever. Our band is a 8-piece band. We do all Selena songs. So if you come to one of our shows, my expectation, my hope is that you will find yourself closing your eyes, feeling like you're at a Selena concert. Not necessarily because of my voice, but because of the music that my band plays. We've worked really hard to make sure that we replicate the music as close to the recordings as possible. And I have an incredible band of gentlemen who've been able to do that. So yeah, we're a Selena tribute, first in Texas. We won an Austin Music Award in 2018 for Best Tribute Band.
Congratulations.
Yeah, so thanks. We love doing the band, and it's been a rough 6 weeks to not play shows for people.
Yeah, a lot of musicians like yourself have full-time jobs in addition to being musicians, but that the doing the music is a big part of your identity and and to kind of survive. So tell me more about how you're kind of dealing with and what are the challenges that you're having?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I just happen to be one of those musicians with a full-time job. So in this climate, I wake up as an American feeling very lucky to have a full-time job, but not being able to play music. The band plays an average of about 80 shows a year for the last 6 years. And to not be able to do that really, I was watching a television show with my son this morning where people were performing live, and I started to tear up. It's so performing for people, playing music live, there's nothing quite like it, and it's so special to me, and to not be able to do it is so hard and so sad. Aside from the monetary loss, it's just a really huge, I feel like a piece of me's missing. I feel like, I just don't feel like myself. I know that no one does, but it's been really a challenge to even watch other people performing on television is kind of gut-wrenching, because this is from March, and South by to Cinco de Mayo. This is what we refer to as Selena season. So there's Cinco de Mayo, there's Selena's birthday, there's South by, lots of things that we normally would be doing. This is our busiest time of the year, and we're just kind of sitting at home as a band talking to each other on Zoom, like, what's going on, y'all? Same thing that was going on yesterday. So
have you been able to do any live shows or streaming shows with the band?
Yeah, so our last scheduled show was at Rodeo Austin, and we could see kind of the writing on the wall that things were just kind of starting to shut down. And that week I texted the guys, we're on a group text, and I said, we're going to perform on Sunday. I will figure it out, and we're going to play a show. So what we did was we rented a room at Space. Shout out to Space. I feel bad. I should have made a list of shout outs. I didn't think to do that, but we rented a room at Space, and the entire band showed up. This is my son. He's eating juice pops. And we played a show, and we threw up our Venmo and PayPal and Cash App information. And we were one of the first bands in Austin to do an actual live stream. We did that on the Sunday. And it worked out really well. We got to reach fans who we wouldn't normally get to reach. We had folks from Argentina, folks from Brazil watching with us live. And it was really special to do that live stream, but that was the last time that we played. But it was super successful, and we do have some more exciting announcements and events on the verge of happening in the next week or so.
Tell me why a Selena tribute band? What is? I mean, I grew up in San Antonio, so I have a little bit of affinity for Selena. There was a lot of Selena love in the community when I was growing up. But tell me more about your connection to Selena.
Sure. So I am. My hair's like, you can't see through my hair, but I have my unicorn horn. We'll show you. I'm a native Austinite. I was born and raised here, and I grew up around Tejano music. My parents are blue collar Mexican American people who were bilingual, who listened to Tejano music, and that I was listening to Tejano music before I was listening to any kind of mainstream pop music. That's for sure. And she was just such a huge part of my life. Growing up as a child in the 3rd grade, I saw her on television, and I'm like, that's what I want to do. I didn't realize I was going to take it so literally, but I knew that's what I wanted to do from that age on. As I got older, I got into the music industry, and I started learning things behind the scenes, so that when I was ready to start my band, I wouldn't have to ask for help. I wouldn't be kind of handicapped by not being able to do things because I didn't know how to do them. So I worked in the industry before I even started my first band. My first band the only people, it was me and two guitar players, and the only people that were coming to my shows were my parents. So I put my marketing hat on and my publicist hat on and tried to figure out how to get people to pay attention to me. And the first thing I could think of was Selena. So I called 9 musician friends that I knew and asked them to learn these songs. Our first show ever, we played 6 songs at Empire Control Room to a sold out crowd. And the rest is kind of history. Selena is an icon in Texas and beyond, obviously, from what we've learned just in the world of performing and in the world of touring. We've taken the band everywhere from New Orleans to Chicago, Denver, Vegas, LA, everywhere in between. And she's still so magical. People still, after every show, have a Selena story for me. And it's so special to be in receipt of that. And it makes me feel like we're doing the right thing and we picked the right artist. And on the nights when the shows are going really good, it honestly does feel like she's kind of there. Her spirit's there. So she's always been special to me. And I'm super glad to see other people feel that same amount of love for her that I do.
That's really wonderful. And I believe that you're going to sing for us today on the show.
I am. So Courtney Santana is a very good friend of mine. And I will be honest with you, I went back and watched the past episode to see how she did it in the world of social distancing, aside from me calling in a guitar player and having him sitting 8 feet away from me. I'm going to do exactly what she did. So I have my song here. I'm going to sing a song. It is a traditional mariachi song that Selena covered. I believe Jose Alfredo Jimenez originally sang it. It's called Cien Años. So I'll sing just about a minute of that, if that's okay with you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Okay, here we go. Pasaste a mi lado con gran indiferencia, tus ojos ni siquiera voltearon hacia mí, te vi sin que me vieras, te hablé sin que me oyera, y toda mi amargura se ahogó dentro de mí. Me duele hasta la vida pensar que me olvidaste, saber que mi desprecio merezca yo de ti, y sin embargo sigue unido a mi existencia, y si vivo 100 años, 100 años pienso en ti. That was
awesome. And you even had a bandmate join you.
I was going to say, that is the nature of performing with a 2-year-old. Anytime I play a show and he's there, he automatically finds himself. There are pictures of me holding my son with a microphone, like sweating at the San Antonio Zoo or the thing.
Oh my gosh.
So
that was so beautiful, Stephanie. Thank you so much for sharing your music with us today and for your son joining us on the show.
Oh,
that was really wonderful. Well, tell folks. Yeah, tell folks where they can access your music or support the band.
Sure. So you can find all of our information, our next shows, when they will be happening at bittybittybanda.com. We are on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at bittybittybanda. We will actually be doing, we're pulling it together right now. We will be doing some sort of live stream concert event next Saturday, April 18th. You can find that information on our social medias and our website as well. We're working on something really we've never done before. That will keep us all in our houses and keep us socially responsible. So we're working on that right now.
That's awesome. We had a few folks comment on your show, on your singing. Thank you again for sharing your music with us today. And if you can stick around, we'll bring you back on at the end of the show.
Of course. Thank you for letting me sing.
Alrighty.
I haven't done that in a month. Thank you so much.
It was beautiful.
Okay.
It was beautiful. That was amazing. We have such amazing and talented musicians in this community. I'm so glad that we're able to share their work with the community through the show. Our last guest, may not need an introduction, but I am so glad that he is able to join us. I have the pleasure of joining him on live streams quite frequently now, since he is my colleague and our mayor, Steve Adler. Hello, Mayor.
Hi, it's good to see you, Jimmy. I am such a groupie and fan of Bitty Bitty Banda. Thank you so much for bringing them on.
Well, I'm very fortunate that Stephanie was willing to do that, and Pastor Josh, who was on the show right before her. But thank you for taking time out of what is an insane, ridiculous mayoral schedule to come on to my show on a Friday.
Well, I've been a fan of yours too. I think it's a great thing that you have going, and you were the only council member to actually have a backdrop at the council meeting, and it was impressive.
Having a background as a web developer and a technology guy means that I've got 10 more crazy things I might do in a future meeting, so people can stay tuned for that. But Mayor, I mean, first, how are you doing? How are you and your family holding up?
We're holding up pretty well. Kind of like everybody else. There's a little bit of stir craziness that's happening. My birthday is in March. And my girls, all three of them, were supposed to be coming into town to help me celebrate it. Only one of them made it with a husband and 2 grandchildren, and they were from New York City. So after they were here for a week, they just stayed and didn't go back. So they've now been with us for a month.
Oh, wow.
It's been incredible. I've had more time with my granddaughter than I probably would have had in the next year or two. And Diane is absolutely exhausted. She's loving it, but remembers now why it is that only young people have children.
That's amazing. I'm so glad that you're able to have some connection with your family. Not everybody has the advantage of that right now, and it's been challenging for a lot of folks.
Absolutely.
I want to talk a little bit about how the work is different. You and I get to work together on the council. I'm in my 4th year. You're in your 5th or 6th year. Who can keep track? But this time is very different for mayors. It's not that different for council members, but it's very different for mayors. Talk a little bit about that.
It is different. So the form of government here in Austin is a strong manager form of government, manager council form of government, so that the actual chief operating officer of the city is the city manager. The council form is almost like the board of directors. There is no real CEO. It's kind of the combination of the council as the board of directors and the chief operating officer who's the city manager. But in emergencies like this, statutorily, the emergency officers are me for the city and the county judge for the county. So the relationship is different. The decision-making structure is different, so as to be able to act quickly during an emergency. So the role changes as concerns the emergency response.
It's a very different experience for all of us, and I just want to take a moment to thank you for taking on this very unexpected role as mayor and being so courageous and forward-thinking to cancel South by when you did. I think many of us acknowledge that to be something that was looked at around the world as how serious we needed to take this crisis. And there are other cities who either didn't have that opportunity or chose not to take that opportunity, who are in a worse state now than we are here in Central Texas. So thank you, Mayor, for taking that on and doing such a great job during this time. I watched you. You have a show now too.
Hey,
is that right?
That's right. I'm trying to compete in just a minute. So you have a whole show. I just have a minute or so.
I like on your show. I like that you bring up the statistics for what's going on right now, and so I am going to do that. Boom. So this is the live dashboard that the city and the county have provided Why don't you run us through what we're seeing here, Mayor?
Well, what we're seeing is actually a dynamic dashboard. You can click on some of these things and they'll expand. So everybody needs to know that. But this is the city's main site with respect to the virus. It shows the confirmed cases on a daily basis. It shows the number of people that have passed away. 642 confirmed cases, went up by about 7.5% yesterday. It's an important number to track because the cities are doing that across the country, but probably not the best number because that number will go up the more people we test, and we're bringing a lot more tests in, I hope, to the city. So that number will rise, not because we have more cases, but because we're finding more cases. I'm hoping that we're going to start moving toward keeping track of the number of hospitalizations that we have in the 5-county area. That's what the modeler uses, and that's a more objective number. The number of people passing away, obviously an objective number, and that's just a reminder of how serious this is and why this discipline is so important in our community right now. We need to keep that number as low as we possibly can. We start putting in the recovered number so that people can see that, but that's an understatement too. We know there are a lot of people who have this virus, don't even know they ever had it. They're asymptomatic and they recover. They wouldn't appear here. Some people got the virus, had a low-grade fever, recovered on their own. They're not showing here. But that hospitalized number right now shows you the number on any given day, so it doesn't show you the cumulative number. My hope is that we're going to start posting that number cumulatively. But below that is the list of a graph. You can see occurrences over time. You can see based on onset, because this virus is actually contracted a week before you see symptoms, a week before people end up really usually going to the hospital or getting confirmed. It also shows you the ethnicity of the people who are confirmed, the age of the people that are confirmed. Right now in our community, Jimmy, the occurrence seems to be tracking similarly to the ethnicity, the makeup in our city. We know that's not the trend nationally, so we're paying particular attention to that number. But it's a great website, and we're going to be building it out with more and more data.
Yeah, I'm really glad to see the. I have some questions about the value of showing the numbers by zip code like we have here, since again we're limited in terms of testing. But for my constituents in far northwest Austin, you can see the county line cutting through here. So even though the title of this says Travis County, it is including these parts that are in Williamson County that are in the city of Austin. So that's always a question for our very complex jurisdictional lined community, where especially on the edges in my district, and Councilmember Harper Madison and the Mayor Pro Tem and Councilmember Ellis, our constituents are crossing those lines all the time. So talk just a little bit. Tell me how you're collaborating with our surrounding jurisdictions. Obviously, people are there's no putting up a wall as some folks might want to do.
This virus does not know boundaries. And that's why we were all pushing so hard to get the governor to implement a statewide stay-at-home ban, because we recognized that this virus does not stop at county or city lines. And frankly, we're all in this together, certainly in our region, because people go back and forth so much, because we're dependent on, generally speaking, the same healthcare systems that are operating. The cooperation has been really good. Working the city with the county judge here in Travis County, but also with the judge in Williamson County, the mayors in the different cities around our region. I think everybody's working really hard together because we recognize there's such interdependence. We have folks, obviously, in our healthcare systems here in Austin, Travis County that are supporting people who need the attention, that live in some of the outlying areas but don't have the same healthcare infrastructure. On that zip code map, Jimmy, I point out, and people know this, that does not mean that those are hot spots where the virus is congregating for some reason. A lot of people, get this virus at the grocery store, which may or may not be in their district, or where they work, or if they're working on a construction site. The clusters we're looking at are not so much geographic based as they are interaction based. And that's how this thing starts. So it's good to see where people live, just to be able to see that number. But again, every one of these data points has limitations.
And you can find this information on the city's website, austintexas.gov/COVID-19. This dashboard is the very first thing that appears on that webpage, and you can there's a link to see the desktop version, so it will take up your whole screen like we've been able to do here. Mayor, thank you again for coming onto the show. Before you leave, why don't you tell folks what it is that you're hearing is the best way to help, the best way to participate in solving this problem for our community?
You know, there's an absolute answer to that question, and it's to physically distance, to stay at home unless it's essential and critical that you go out. If you go out, it's best to wear a face covering, you know, especially in places like grocery stores or convenience stores or good job, Jimmy, to do that. You know, when you put on a face covering like that, it doesn't protect you. It protects the people around you, which is why if you go into a grocery store and you want to honor and protect the clerks that are stocking the shelves, wear the face covering. But what we do know is that if everybody in the grocery store wore the face covering, you would get protected too. And that's the nature of this. Stay 6 feet away, stay at home, wear a face covering when you go out. That is the most important thing to do. This virus cannot spread unless we transfer it from person to person.
Thank you, Mayor, and thank you for referencing the grocery clerks. You know, my boyfriend, Zach, is a service manager at HEB, and so I've been self-quarantining for quite a long time, worried about my home being a vector for transmission, and my family worries about our grocery clerks every single day. And so this is really about us helping and solving this problem as a community. And again, I want to thank you, Mayor, for your leadership in this crisis.
One last point. I want to thank you for your leadership. You know, you are the one that brought to us item 91 2 weeks ago at the city council meeting. That is our kind of global response to support not only the health crisis, but recognizing that this is an economic crisis too, that people and businesses are hurting. Income has been stopped for so many people. So many people have lost their jobs. You showed leadership on that. And quite frankly, you brought together a council that has been divided on so many things coming into this moment, the land development code, homelessness, and other kinds of things. But you really did help bring everybody together on this one. Thank you for that leadership, and I'm excited now that that's beginning to play out.
Thank you for that, Mayor. We have a few comments I just want to show you. Pastor Josh, who I will bring up onto the screen in a moment. Gloria Gonzalez Stalakia, who is a school board member for Leander ISD and a resident of District 6, and Tanya, who's on my political team, my volunteer political team. Can you answer her question about the stay-at-home guidance?
We will be extending the stay-at-home guidance. They expire on Monday, so sometime between now and Monday, the judge and I will extend it. You would expect it to be extended at least through the end of the month, which is when the president's and the governor's order runs right now. But yes, definitely it'll be extended sometime between now and Monday.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mayor. I'm going to bring on our other guests, Pastor Josh and Stephanie Bergarva. Thank you all so much for joining the show and for your continued work, Mayor and Pastor Josh and Stephanie. I know in your job you also help the community a lot as well. So thank you all, and we will see you on the show in the future. Thank you.
God bless you. Take care. We're praying for you guys.
What an amazing show that was. Again, I want to thank the Mayor for joining us, Pastor Josh and Stephanie Bergar from Bidi Bidi Banda. As the Mayor said, you know, this is about taking care of each other as a community, about staying home as much as we can, to the extent that you can do so. I want to remind folks that I still have my collaboration with State Representative John Busey, our Neighbor to Neighbor Senior Food Outreach Program. You can find out more about that on his website, buseyfortexas.com, or on my website, atxd6.org. And we still are accepting volunteers to sign up to make phone calls from home. We are trying to call every senior, every person over 60 in this part of town, to make sure that they have the information they need and the access to resources and food and other basic necessities. This is an unprecedented and crazy time. There is no analog for us, and that means we're going to solve this problem together. We are going to work on this problem as a community, and we are most importantly going to stay home. Thanks everybody for watching. And as I bring up our credits, I also want to give a little shout out to Julian Delacchia, who's been helping the show and making it possible that I can do my city council work, but then be ready to go for the show on Friday. So thanks again for watching.